Wonderful. So thanks everybody for joining us on our third episode of Pinpal. This is a lot of fun. We've got a different mix of folks today, a little younger crowd, and I think it'll be a little more inspirative, if you ask me, so we could figure out um, how to become an ultimate bowler from the ground up. No doubt about it. And the folks we have in the room today really representing some incredible athletes in five pin that's with us today, and it's going to be really exciting. Really glad they're here. So with that said, JB, I'll pass you the mic.
Great. So thanks very much for joining us. We'll see how well organized you folks are compared to the motley crew that we had to spend some time with last time.
They showed up at 7. Right at 7 o'clock. Everybody was here. That's a good
Absolutely.
start, eh?
That's already a win. So welcome. I'm really glad to get a chance to talk to some young people. In part because most of the contact that I've had with folks about youth bowling, since I haven't been in it for a little while, has been from the point of view of especially of either parents who went through youth bowling or who have kids who are youth bowling age. And a lot of the parents, especially who've been through the youth bowling program, have said, I wouldn't put my kids in youth bowling now because there's nothing to shoot for. And that made me sad. So I thought, what better thing could we do perhaps for the next generations of the sport than to hear directly from you and to dive a little bit into, what the tournament experience has been like for you so far. What is it that you are interested in the game for your own bowling career? To find out what about this event was particularly nice or interesting or fun or curious for you. And just to give you all a chance to be heard in a forum where maybe we don't talk to youth bowling participants nearly enough. So that's part of the reason, that's my selfish reasons for you to be here, is so that you can tell us what we don't know about what we need to do for the future of this game. And not to put too much pressure on you, but you are the future of this game, which means you're going to have to take over this stuff relatively soon. So it might not be a bad idea to plant a few seeds on that as well tonight. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely would like to start with Kathy Davidson. I finally got a chance to meet Kathy, I think for the first time last year at Presqu'île Lanes at the year-end fun tournament that I didn't even know I was going to until I was there. And those of you out there watching certainly know Kathy's resume as a legend of the sport. There's no reason to say it any other way. So I'm really happy that I got a chance to talk to you, Kathy, in this environment. And I'm really curious, very easy place to start. What was your vision for this tournament? What is it that you want to see in this tournament? Why this tournament? What were you trying to do here?
So many of you are familiar with Stellar Lanes in Ontario, Southern Ontario. The previous proprietor was Gord McLeod, and he and his good friend Fraser Hamley and I were sitting around the bowling center one night about 15 years ago, and we just were trying to find a way to keep kids of all ages or youth players of all ages involved in the game and playing in a tournament that it kind of had an equal playing field with the handicap, but also give it a monetary value to it. So we started off the first 2 years, I believe it was $500 for first place. And then as it got more successful with entries, we were able to raise it up a little bit more and a little bit more. And then about 2 years before COVID, York Simcoe took on the sponsorship of the $1,000 guaranteed. So we're very grateful to everyone who sponsored throughout the years. It is a handicap match play event. So the average is based on 80% of the difference between the youth bowlers average and 250. And that's carried over every game right through to match play. So they play 5 games qualifying. And then the top, depending on the numbers. So this year we went with 16 because we're down to 12 lanes at Stellar now. So trying to find a way on a short turnaround to 12 lanes. And then the top 2 got a bye, and then the next 14 went on to match play. And then the next 2 went in the automatic second round. So they got the bye, past the first round. This year we paid out over $4,000 cash to the kids playing.
Amazing.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I remember when I was growing up in youth bowling, and I was in Southern Ontario as well. So I had Young Adult Bowlers Association to look forward to, although I never got there. The idea of playing in a tournament for money, it wasn't common back then. As a kid, you played for prestige, and then when you were an adult, you started to play for money. And so it's really nice to see an event that provides a little bit of both. That provides as you say, that evens out the playing field with the handicap system, so that lower average bowlers feel like they have a chance. But has the draw that it draws many of us to many of these tournaments, which is it's nice to walk away with some money in your pocket.
This year was the first year we had any players playing scratch, so it kind of just shows that the elite players were not quite at 250 from YBC. So this year we had 2 or 3 playing scratch, which was, I want to say, nice to see, but it gives them it gives the other bowlers something to learn from as well, because some of the players, we had averages from like 126 right up to over 250. So, and everything was based on individual averages. So it was nice. And
So
getting back to the original,
Mhm.
when we were starting this whole idea, it wasn't without hiccups, and it wasn't without some issues in the beginning, how to issue the handicaps, etc. But like players like Matt Houston, my own boys, our own YBC kids, it was to try and give them another event in the calendar that would allow them to go out and play more than just 3 games and have it mean something.
No, that sounds wonderful. And as I said, it's, like I said, it's not something that I was used to growing up. So, and with the proliferation of these open cash tournaments now, it must be really nice to have an event like this, it has some of the feeling of the cash tournaments, but allows the kids to compete against each other and not worry about maybe the intimidation factor of going up in the open division against dozens and dozens of 250, 260, 270 average professionals. So I'm curious, you've been involved with this tournament since the beginning, and how many years has it been running now? Oh, we might have lost Kathy. So this will be the part where we pause. Edit point for Danny.
I'm going to take a stab at 13th or 14th annual, I believe.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back.
No problem. All right.
Coming up on the 14th annual, we're just wondering how many years has this tournament going, Kathy?
So we had to take a skip in October last year, October, because we had a duplicated date. So November 5th is the 14th annual. And as of today, I already have 54 entries for November. So I'm maxed at 72. So I have 18 spots left.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Oh. No, that's great.
Right. So yes, this is again 14. We have a cup. I wish I would have brought it. We have the cup with all the names on it, including the COVID year. Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better. Stellar switched to 12 conversion 10-pin lanes in the last 5 years, first 6 and then 6 more. In the glory days, we were 108 to 116 players when we were at our peak with 24 lanes of 5-pin. So
Mhm.
It's unfortunate that we have to cap it at 12 lanes and 72 players. Just the thought of moving it to 2 days and at the added expense for the youth coming in, it just at this point doesn't make sense just because of the cost of everything, and hotels in the area are almost $200 a night. Just economically for parents, it doesn't seem like it's something we can do. An option would be to, and it's not on the table yet, but an option would be to move it to a bigger venue and run it back at 18 or 24 lanes, however many is needed, but we're not there yet.
Oh,
Right.
I love the 1 day tournament vibe because not a lot of cash tournaments are like that. They're not the
Well,
simple,
go
like
ahead, sorry.
it just like you said, logistically it makes it a lot easier for parents, for bowlers, for the hosting committee, whatever, to
A lot of
allow these.
I was
It
just saying,
makes for a long day because a lot of youth players, first of all, aren't always used to playing 5 games. And then there's up to an additional 4 or 5 more games in the match play if they go all the way to the final. So you've got these kids that may not be used to playing that many games, playing up to 10 games in the day by the time it's all done. Historically, we've been finished around 2:30, 3 o'clock. This year was a little bit later, but that was just an unfortunate machine error complication. But we got back on track, and for the most part, everything else went smoothly.
And it sounds to me like this format provides a nice transition. So it's not too much like the now becoming typical open 8-game qualifying shift, multiple days, Sunday playoffs format. It gives kids a taste of that, while allowing them to, hey, if I bowl three games in league, then 5-game qualifier doesn't sound that hard. It's just enough of a challenge to be interesting, but I don't have to feel like I'm being pushed too far outside of my comfort zone. So I really like the idea of keeping the format different enough that it provides, as I said, this nice bridge between, YBC league play and the open cash tournaments.
It also gives them an opportunity to get used to Youth Challenge, because Youth Challenge, we play 5 games qualifying at provincials, but then the final 4 go on to continue to play Baker's format. I think they
Right.
changed it this year. I'm not 100%, but it also gives them that opportunity because there's 3 or 4 more games that they're not used to playing. So it also gives them the opportunity to get used to playing the extra games that you would at the Youth Challenge to either determine the first place winner for the Youth Challenge or also for Ontario Winter Games qualifying. So it's got a lot of great kind of underlying experiences as well. Obviously, the friendship, the camaraderie. We had kids from Ottawa, from Windsor, from Sudbury, from the north. Like it's great, and we are very lucky that we're able to be central enough to have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's sort of anywhere from Barrie, Newmarket up to Georgian Bay, up to like Huronia would be an interesting sort of place to be, as you say, central enough to draw people from the south, even the southwest, from the north, and so it's great to be able to have it in a location like that.
quick question for the group right now, Miles, Raven, and the folks. How many games is the most you played in a day? What's the most amount of games you played in a day? Throw it out there. It's got to be up there. Just curious. You could probably take us guys
with
out.
Raven, I know it's at least 8 because I was there for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
I believe on days where I've practiced a ton, I've hit up to 20 games.
There we go. There we go.
So somewhere up there on the days where the bowling alley's dead and I'm just bored, I will keep throwing and throwing until I'm done.
Oh yeah, me too. I totally get that.
It goes on forever.
Awesome.
As long as I'm bowling well, it's okay.
What about you, Matthew?
Yeah.
Matthew Bodway, how many did you play to win
I
You
forget.
played
Wasn't it
5
like 10 or something?
qualifying, and then how many matches after? 4, 5?
Four, four, I think. So it must be like 9 games.
Yeah.
9. So,
Wow.
yeah, so Matthew played 9 to win Stellar.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I find it, especially with the, Nebs coming up and other tournaments and these cash tournaments, if you don't qualify, you're going to bowl 8 games, 8 to 10 games in a typical tournament. If you don't qualify, and that's like me, because I don't qualify. I'm getting there. I'm mid-pack, mid-ish, lowish. It's about 8 games. If you go all the way, you're going to be bowling a lot, like 30, 40 games. That's going to be your weekend over 3 days. So mind you, and if you qualify and you're happy with your qualification on the very first day, you don't have to go in for the second one. There's ways that you can be efficient at it if you're a better bowler. Of course, if you're throwing strikes, you're throwing 2 times less balls every frame. So there's that aspect to it. Miles, like you said, if you're not throwing strikes, I'm out of there in 10 games. Call it a day. Who cares what's going on? But I think that's I've never had to experience that kind of run before. I think adrenaline kicks in a little bit there, helps you out, but it definitely is something that it's hard to just jump into and do without that mindset and training. Are there any techniques you use? Or do you warm up? Back in the day, you get in the lanes, or you remember that, do the warm up, adult leagues, and it's typically few guys or girls out there, they're doing their little stretches. Is there anything you do specifically? Do you eat differently? Do you drink differently when you're preparing for a tournament, or you're just getting out there? Seeing some head nods. Same old.
Me personally, honestly,
Every day's
like,
the same.
yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, like, I don't really change much. I don't really stretch much. I just kind of go out and bowl.
Awesome.
I might have my energy drink in me before I bowl, but that's about it. The only difference between that and YBC.
I mean, I don't do my. I even try avoiding practicing day of. I'm just lazy. I just go out there and let muscle memory take control.
I just stretch most of the time before I throw.
Yeah.
Well, we know which one of you is still going to be nice and limber and have a good back in your 40s. We know it's going to be Marty. So I'm curious, Matthew. I'd like to start with you. What was there something about this tournament experience for you that was kind of new to you? Maybe a bit of a surprise, or just something you hadn't experienced before?
I mean, I guess there was a certain amount of tension I hadn't normally experienced. Like the pride of winning is all right, although I'm not, I'm all right if I don't win, I'm all right if I lose. But money, like obviously I'm in college and that, so having that extra money is a really big deal for me. So like every game there was like this bigger tension of like, I really hope there was a surprise I'm winning. I'm used to losing. So there was first a surprise winning, and then there's also the tension of like, I could really use this money. So it's kind of a big deal that hopefully I do well here. So that was definitely a different experience than I normally experience.
Matthew, before you go too far, can I just add something before you start? So Matthew won his first match with a 239, went on his second match to start with the first 8 in a row for 409 with handicap, obviously. And then his third game, he had 304, and his final match, he had 327. So those were the 4 games that Matthew played in the stepladder, not including the 5 that he qualified with. So that's some pretty awesome
That's
scores.
a phenomenal run.
That's
Congratulations.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations
Thank
to you,
you.
absolutely. So I'm curious then, you said you felt the tension of, oh, I could really use this money. What did that feel like to you when you noticed that thought coming into your mind as you're also throwing well over 1,000 triple with handicap? Obviously the tension didn't hurt you too much. But what was that like for you when you sort of had those thoughts? I could really use this money.
I mean, like the people around me were saying, I was kind of holding my head in my hands. Like I'd start a game and I thought like these guys are really good. I'm probably gonna lose it. It's not a big deal. And then as I got halfway through, and it's kind of like, okay, I could actually, maybe win this. It really, every game, I'm just kind of putting my head in my hands and I'm thinking about every shot. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know how I'm winning.
Did you feel any like things in your body at that point? Was there a certain moment where you just had no feeling whatsoever and adrenaline takes over and you're throwing the ball 10 kilometers faster? Were you having to deal with that, or you were just in the zone and just dialed?
I mean, yeah, there definitely was. I was sweating like a pig. I was every shot. I just had to relax and just focus on what they're doing and like, how far out am I? How far? What do I have to get to keep in this?
That's good. So you were
every
still
shot I
there.
went up.
You were still there. If you were in that mindset of, okay, what do I've got to do? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
That's where you need to be in your head. And that's the hardest part to deal with, especially in a pressure situation like that. That's extremely challenging on the mind. I've been in there in a situation in 10 pin in my youth. It was a sponsorship tournament. It was very similar. It was about 300 people bowling, and it was match play to the end. And I was in the B side, not the A side, but B side was just as intense in that sense. And I remember that last game, the final game, mano a mano, and I couldn't feel anything going on in my body or my brain. It was numb, and I just kind of closed my eyes and hoped for the best. I mean, I think to have that experience again with you guys as going through your bowling, it's a good thing to keep on the mind, because that's the hardest part. Just trying to keep your mind in a safe spot, keep your body in a safe spot, and roll with the punches.
Sorry, if I can just add, Matthew's qualifying score, scratch, was 1179 and 1409 with handicap. So between the 1409 and the 1279 for 9 games, he averaged 298.
I can say, yeah.
Sorry.
Very nice work. and to be aware of what's happening and to be thinking about where you stand relative to the people that you're bowling against. I mean, we had this conversation with Lyle about trying to, distract yourself and try to find that balance between staying helpfully distracted so that when you walked up on the approach, you could just throw the ball and focus on that and then not worry. The standing with your back to the lanes, facing the crowd, talking to whoever will talk to you. Most of the people, on the tours, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep themselves distracted so that they're not getting too much in their head. So for you to be able to perform like that and think about what's going on, like be aware of what's going on, not trying to distract yourself, not trying to play tricks on your own mind. That's I'm envious of you for being able to do that. And I'm not surprised that your reaction is like, I don't know how it worked.
Yeah, like when I'm sitting before going up in the lane, that's when I really focus on like, okay, what do I need? What I gotta get. But then once I get up on the lane, like I really do try to distract myself. Like those 8 strikes I throw, I have no clue how I did. I just went up there, threw the ball, and it kept hitting. Because if I think about it too much, I start making adjustments I shouldn't make, and then I'm way off course.
That sounds a little bit more like what the rest of us, I think, can relate to. That sounds very much like, yay.
It's nice that kids can point that out and that adults take years to figure that out. Like it's
Absolutely. So I'd like to ask the rest of the crew. So just jump in when you're ready. Was there something about the experience of this event that was new, surprising, different, unusual for you? Or even at least interesting or curious, unexpected?
I can add one. Miles Wallace came off the bench, kind of, so to speak. He showed up hoping somebody didn't. And
you were standby. Okay.
I got kind of lucky.
Yeah, he got kind of lucky. Stepped in, ended up being the top qualifier. 14-14 scratch.
Wow.
1479 with handicap. And ended up being the top qualifier.
I feel like I regret that.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, what was that like for you, Miles?
Well, I
In
mean,
baseball, pitchers talk about if they don't know they're starting the next day, then they can't think about it the night before. So if you walking in there not sure if you were even going to have a spot, what was that like for you getting ready?
uh, it was kind of like I ran in my car to get all my stuff and showed up to my lane, had no practice, no nothing. It was kind of, it wasn't the first time I'd bowled a tournament with no practice because I remember back home I did a zone round for provincials, or not provincials, zone round to qualify and had that issue. But that first game was brutal. I'll say
Mm,
that.
brutal
And then
how? Just the
It
result
wasn't
or how you
so
felt?
bad.
it
It
was
was
how I
seven.
felt. First 3 or 4 frames, I was looking at the people on my lane. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not warmed up. I've got nothing. I have no feel. Just everything felt slightly off.
Mm.
Even if
And
I would get
so,
a good result, it didn't feel like a good ball.
right. And can you remember the point at which you started to settle in? Did something click, or did it just did the bad feelings just gradually go away?
It was around like the 6th or 7th frame that game where I threw a strike and I turned around a little early on it because I just let it go and I hit that point where I was like, yeah, I stayed down, I followed through, shot was good. I can be confident in what I'm throwing now. And just tried to carry that through to the rest of the games after that.
Nice. So, yeah, what about you other folks? What was the experience like for you?
I definitely felt that like I kind of struggled for a few games during Stellar. And it was more just kind of having to figure out like tweak little things here and there. But it was overall it was an okay it was an okay like day. I felt good throwing the ball, so I mean it wasn't like too overwhelming or anything, but
Did you have to adjust your shot based off of the lanes? Were you comfortable in the lanes, or was there anything major that you had to do that was different compared to another center? Oh, you're muted.
I was definitely comfortable on the lanes, but my like I have a little bit of like my shot kind of like snaps in and it wasn't really like snapping in to the pins like for like, but that was my like basically what I had to adjust to. Like my ball just kind of being more straight than normal, but
Cool. Cool. Do you come prepared with, I guess, of course, understanding the lanes? How I guess the question is, how much do you adjust yourself before you go to your bag or you go find another ball or you start blaming other things? What are some tips that you can give us even to say, okay, my ball's not doing the right thing, maybe I'm going to adjust my hand, I'm going to adjust my movement. What do you do before some tips on how you adjust?
if I'm hitting the middle but I'm not getting good breaks, I'll try and focus on, how far away from the line am I, like how where am I stopping? How far away from the line am I stopping? Can I move backwards? Can I move forwards? Honestly, like that kind of little technical stuff. Um, Maybe my rotation of my ball isn't good, so maybe I have to fix it that way. I don't usually run to my bag until I know that all of like the little things I've tried aren't really doing anything to improve the way my ball is moving, or and maybe I'll go try like a different type of bowling ball. Maybe I'll try a different slider, but I've never really tried a different slider. But that's just like a
JB's
last case
tried a lot of sliders.
scenario. Yeah.
Yes, I had my craft project yesterday. So what about the rest of you? What are some of your pet adjustments? What are the things that you try to do when your shot isn't quite working the way you'd like it to?
I mean, for me personally, it just depends on what is the issue. If I'm missing constantly, I tend to miss right, honestly. I
Okay.
tend to just slide a tiny bit right. Normally one board's enough for me, but
Hmm.
I'll move one board right, throw for the same spot. That tends to be my favorite adjustment. I've also moved forward, moved back. Odd time, I'll play a different line if my normal line just completely isn't working. And
And
then
is
there's
moving.
days where
Go ahead. Sorry.
there's days where I'll sit there, and I'll be like, I'm throwing a really good ball and getting horrible reactions. I'm just gonna switch. It's the ball's fault.
Yeah, that's me after about 2 shots. I'm working on it though. I'm working on it.
I
I
know
blame-
for
I've
some it
been
was
known to
really
be bad
different.
for it.
Sorry.
My dad can vouch for that. I switched at nationals when I shouldn't have.
I know for some playing in July was very different too. So some hadn't thrown the ball for a while. Some YBC programs were finished the end of April. So having this event in July, some of the individuals that were there hadn't practiced or hadn't really thrown a ball, or, you know, even mentally prepared for 5 games in the heat, because it was quite warm outside that day too. So
Mhm, mhm.
Marty,
So-
you've played a couple times. How do you feel?
About the Stellar tournament.
Yeah,
I don't know what was wrong with me that day. I
you
wasn't
had a
going.
rough go.
Yeah, a really rough go.
Rough go.
Blame the wind.
Just it wasn't. Just my focus wasn't there. It's awful.
You've played the event before though and done well.
No, it's my first time playing.
Was it? Oh, I'm
It was,
sorry.
yeah.
I thought you
Yeah,
had
I've
played
never
more
been
than
to Stellar before. No.
So what kind of I mean, you make it sound like nothing went right. What kind of bad feeling, or what was that like for you? What were you noticing?
Just like drifting a lot and not following through properly, and mental game's not good. Screwed up.
I'm curious about the mental game stuff, because that's always the most interesting part for me. When you say not good, was there something you were doing that you didn't want to be doing, or was there something you wanted to be doing and couldn't seem to do it?
Hit my target.
Okay. And so mentally, what was going on for you? What do you think?
I don't know. I wasn't focused that day.
Weren't focused.
No.
I know for me, sometimes I'm very obviously distracted, and then sometimes I just sort of feel a little bit like I'm just not sharp, and I don't quite know why. I feel like a bit numb. I feel like a bit spaced out, not really distracted. It's not like I'm thinking of other things. It's like I'm thinking of nothing. And then 20 or 30 balls go by and I realize I haven't really paid attention to what I'm doing. Which one of those was closer to what it was like for you?
Throwing balls and not really knowing what I'm doing.
So just sort of spaced out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, Marty. Were you down on the end that had the ball jams?
I think so.
So I know that numb feeling can get worse if you can't sort of get a rhythm going, if there's lots of stoppages or distractions. That way it can be tough to sort of settle in and start to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
When did you notice that you had that numb feeling? Did you notice it while the tournament was going on, or did you like walk out at the end and go, I don't know what happened. Oh, wait, no, I do know what happened. I wasn't paying attention.
First game probably, and I kept thinking about it, and then it just got worse and worse each game basically. And I didn't know how to pull myself out of it.
You know, sometimes I'll think after, like, even if I bowl a bad game, I'll go into the next game, and then those first 3 or 4 shots, even the first 5 frames, I just bomb again. Like, screwed. I'm totally screwed.
Yeah.
I'll think, and this happened to me open qualifying when I qualified for the Open, when it was first 2nd-year bowler coming in. I wasn't expecting it, but I was literally bombing every first 5 frames, just junk, and started. And of course, when you start with what the first 1 and 2 that are junk anyway, it's just exponentially getting bad. And my dad was there, and he's like, big finish, Dan, big finish. Come on, you got this. And then I happen to have a big finish. I 6-baggered, spare, whatever, boom, 250 from nothing. And then same thing happened the next game. Just blew the first 5. I'm pissed off. And my dad goes, big finish, buddy, big finish. And then I did another big finish. And then at that point, it became a joke. We're laughing at each other. And anytime.
I'm not saying big finish before this first ball of the first frame now. Come on.
Yeah.
12 frames to go. Big finish. Here we go.
Not quite there yet. But that's the thing. And because of that moment, because of that time, anytime I'm like, if I'm 5 in or whatever, or even 6 in, I'll just say to myself, come on, big finish. keep myself in there. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, and part of the problem with having a bad game or a bad couple frames is you tend to perseverate on it, and it only builds and it makes you more off in your game instead of just kind of saying, okay, can't do nothing about it. Let's just reset, refocus, and turn it around. Like you said, big finish, whatever. We tend to overthink. So then it becomes worse because you're thinking about it too much instead of just kind of trying to get back on track as well. I think all of us have been there at some point or another.
The magic phrase I heard from Marty there was, I couldn't figure out why it was happening, right? And I know that's a huge downward spiral for me. When I start trying to figure out what's going on so that I can solve the problem, if I can't seem to put my finger on what's going on, it's very easy for me to then just wander into the forest for 2 or 3 hours. And now that whole qualifying shift is gone. I might as well not even finish. And that's one of the things that I had to learn. One of the things that I had to teach myself and practice is catching myself in that moment and saying, I don't need to figure it out. I just need to find the thing that's going to help me snap it back, whether that's hearing someone's voice in my head yelling big finish or whatever it is. Each of us finds something a little bit different that helps sort of snap us back into the moment. And but yeah, if you try to spend too much energy trying to figure out what's happening instead of just trying something else, then yeah, 2 or 3 games can go by and all of a sudden it's over before it starts. And Marty, it sounds like that was a little bit of what the experience was like for you. Did you sort of wake up and suddenly, oh my God, it's the 5th game and I'm dead? Yeah, absolutely. That's how I had that feeling of like I've pushed fast forward. I didn't mean to, but like I took a nap and I woke up an hour and a half later and I don't know what happened. So it's a good thing for us to, maybe that's one of the things that we try too hard to figure out what's going on instead of trying to find the things that help us bring us back into the moment and then just saying, okay, well, I just noticed that I've been sleepwalking for the last half game. What's the thing that's going to help me pay attention starting with now? I don't have to worry about why I sleepwalked. That's not important. What's important is what am I going to do now? Nice.
All right, this portion of the view is coming to adjourn. We're really getting the emotions out. This is great. This is great.
Well, that's
ups and downs. That's bowling, right?
To me, that's the important thing. Actually, I'm kind of curious because I remember when even when I was towards the end of my youth bowling career, most of the coaching that I got, or most of the advice that I got from the people who were around was trying to be largely technical, was focused on some of the things that you folks have already mentioned, like, okay, move here, try this line, feel the ball off your fingers. It was a lot of physical stuff, but not a lot of mental stuff. And I'd like to think that maybe in the 30 years since then, we've done a better job of teaching you kids more about the mental side of the game. So I'm curious, for you, what have you learned about the mental side of bowling that you found particularly helpful, something that you find easy to go to in a difficult moment, something that maybe surprised you when you learned it? But that goes beyond just, hey, I'm drifting to the right, or hey, my arm is too fast, or any of those other physical kinds of things. What about the mental game? What tools do you like to use? What tricks have you learned? What have you learned about the mental part of the game that you use?
Me personally, I'll get very in my head if I start thinking about like previous frames or like previous games before that. I'll start to like reanalyze everything. And I think the main thing for me is I just focus. I try my best to focus on the next frame, the next ball. Don't worry about anything technical. Just go up and throw the ball. And don't focus on like the score at the end when you're only like halfway through a game. Just focus on like what you were doing the next frame, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. There's a couple comments I could make there, but I'm curious what else have you folks used or understood about the mental game or about your mental game?
I guess for my mental game, like I'll catch on that I'm starting to like some shots are so bad, I'll feel my muscles moving on their own, trying to fix things. So right then I know that I need to like get back in a better headspace. So for the next shot, I'll just like, I'll set myself up, but then as I'm going to take the shot, I'll joke in my head, I'll start thinking of songs, I'll just focus on something completely different. So I'll have my like consciousness focus on just, getting to a better place while I just let my muscle memory take control of the shots. And after doing that a couple times where like the shots are better, my mind's like, okay, I don't need to worry about it as much. We know what we're doing, and then we get back into like a better place.
Beautiful. Love it. Who else?
For me, the best thing that I found is just remaining confident in myself, even if I'm having a bad game. Be confident that I can throw a good shot every single time. And even if that's not working, then at least I know if I focus on following through, everything else will follow. Because the only way I follow through is if everything else lines up with it.
Interesting. So I like the idea of instead of retreating back to the physical thing of, ooh, better follow through, saying, hey, a good follow through is a signal that other things are going well instead of a thing that I'm trying to make my body do. And if I relax and if I feel good mentally, then when I start seeing the good follow through, that's the sign that I know that it's working. Absolutely. How about you, Marty?
When I'm off to a bad start, I definitely think about it. Like if I'm at 36 to 3 frames, I'm like, shoot, I'm off to a bad start. Some things I'm trying to do recently is walk away from it. Like if I see I'm off to a bad start, I just try to walk away and try
So
to think about
literally
it.
walk away.
Like walk away, go like for a
Yeah.
walk around the center and don't look at the scoreboard. It's hard, but I try to do it.
I'm curious, what makes that hard for you? Do you just want to stare at that 36 and hope it changes? Or
I just stare at the score. I'm like, you're doing bad so far, and I just like if I try to walk away, a lot of times I still think about it. But
so I'm curious then, when you've walked away and then you've come back and maybe felt better, what do you think it is about walking away that might help you?
just try to distract yourself,
Okay. Just giving yourself something else to think about?
or maybe I'll listen to music on my phone to
Yeah.
distract me. Yeah, because that really helps too. Like a lot of times before tournaments, if I'm nervous, I'll listen to music, and that calms me down.
I like to do the walk. I definitely like to do the walk. If
Like
I'm
walking
gonna,
helps, or just
just a reset.
go get a drink or something. Go get a
Yeah.
snack or a drink, and yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll go to if I'm tired in the morning, sometimes I'll go to the bathroom and just splash water on my face, wake me up, and that kind of gets me going.
Yeah, Lyle, I don't remember if we talked about this in your interview, whether you are I need to walk away, be distracted when I'm not right up on the approach, or if you prefer to be in there while you're bowling.
No, I'd rather be there while I'm bowling. One, I'm
Yeah.
out of breath by the time I come back from a walk. But
That's true. I remember we did have that discussion.
Turns
That's more physical demands than you can usually handle during a long day. Yeah.
exactly. So I'd rather, stay around the benches where I can take a little break. No, I'd rather stay there, but I'd rather distract myself in that moment. So I feel like if I'm walking away, I'm taking a full mental reset and a physical reset where also if I'm going for a walk, I'm taking off my shoes and I feel like I'm resetting myself because I'd rather keep my shoes on because I've stepped in water before and that has not been pretty. But yeah, no, I'm more of a stay in the pit, but mentally reset myself than any physical reset.
So that walking away feels like more of a in case of emergency break glass kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned about myself in the last year that I'm the opposite. I just even every frame I will walk away and see what's going on 4 pairs over, keep a rough idea of who's before me, and then wander back when they're up, so that I don't risk standing there thinking too hard about what I'm trying to do. I need to be distracted any way I can.
When we were in Timmins this past year, I was bowling Mitch in a match play, and I was up 75 or 85 on him going to third game, and he goes for a walk, and I'm like, uh-oh, I'm screwed.
Yep.
And then he comes back and starts with an 8-bagger, and like, yeah, you got this match, buddy.
Did you have any moment where you thought, ooh, I made him go for a walk? Or was it just immediately, oh no, I'm in trouble?
No, it was a lot of pride.
Yeah. No, I can understand that too.
I like
Uh,
hearing different kind of mental, changes and resets that a lot of different boulders have. So
I have kind of the opposite question now. So is there anything that anyone's tried to teach you? You don't have to name names. Is there anything that anyone's tried to teach you about the mental game that you tried and it just didn't work? You hated it, or it didn't fit you, or was Raven smiling? So maybe she has a story.
I definitely have had a few tips. There's a few I can choose from, but they definitely have not worked for me, and it's kind of just like it makes you more overwhelmed in the moment because you're like, well, that's not working. So what do I do now in this situation?
Right.
Um,
Are you willing to
yeah.
tell us what one of those things was?
I'm trying to think of some specifically, but
Okay.
probably
But yeah, I
just
can
like,
definitely relate to that feeling of, wait, this was supposed to work and it doesn't. What am I supposed to do now?
yeah,
I
yeah,
trusted you, man. You let me down. All right. Well, Raven's thinking about the specific one. Anyone else? Any tricks that somebody taught you that you tried and just didn't feel right, just didn't seem to help? Wow, y'all are lucky then.
So I'm going to add something, and it's an old concept slash new concept, and you really need to really think about it when you're doing it, is the mental imagery side of the game, is to see your shot before you make it. And that was something that was taught to me at a very young age. Um, and obviously it helped, but to some, without understanding the concept of what that whole process is, seeing the shot, being the shot. And one of the best things I've ever heard someone say is, when Tiger Woods was at the best of his career, he used to golf 18 holes in his mind before he would actually go out and golf the holes. So bowling is very similar. If you're seeing yourself making a corner, there's a very high probability that you're going to be successful by making that corner pin. But if you're already saying, oh, I hate that corner, I'm going to miss it, automatically your brain and your everything is in a negative space. And chances are you're going to walk yourself right out of that shot. So having that whole mental imagery, I can do this, seeing the shot that you throw over and over again, the muscle memory that Matthew talks about, right? Like that is something that's very important too. So you add the muscle memory with the visualization of, making this shot over and over and over again. That's nothing but positive. And as long as it's understood and taught for the purpose, then it's great.
Yeah, and that actually leads me to a common question, because I'm actually curious about this. When this topic comes up, I always want to ask this next question. So, just a show of hands, because it's easiest, and everyone. When you try to imagine a shot in your mind's eye, do you actually see pictures in your mind? Can you play it like a video in your mind? Do you actually see stuff? Because I don't. So I'm curious. Just quick show of hands. Yeah, I actually can play it like a video in my mind.
Just corner pins. Just corner pins.
Just corner pins. So Matthew, if I ask you to imagine your shot, you can't see a video in your mind of you throwing a ball?
Not really. Now you got me thinking. No, I don't really. I just, if I imagine my shot, I just see like the arrow on the line where I'm going to throw it. Like that's the only thing I think about when I think of visualize my shot.
Interesting. I'm the same way. And in fact, I've been trying for the last 3 years to develop mental imagery, because there's some people, like, we don't know why some people can't do this. And it's a surprising percentage of the population, like 10%. And we don't know why you folks can do it and we can't. That's an open area of research right now. But a lot of people who can't say the same thing as what Matthew's saying, that they have this abstract concept of what they should be seeing. So it could be, for example, I can kind of see the outline of an arrow showing the path of where I want the ball to go. Or what I sometimes see if I'm really, really relaxed, like if I've been meditating for 30 minutes and then I try to do some visualization and I'm in a really relaxed state, I can see extremely grainy black and white pictures of pin splashing. But it's just like an outline of an image. It's certainly not, HD 4K full color video in my head, like some other people say they can do. So I was always curious to find out. One of the downsides to the visual imagery idea is that there's lots of people who can't do it, and then they don't know. Then we're back to Raven's comment. Well, I can't do this, so what am I supposed to do now? And one of the things that I've learned is connecting with the feeling in the body. Like, how do my shoulders feel when I throw the ball? How do my legs feel when I throw the ball? How does my throwing arm feel when I throw the ball? How do the fingers feel when I snap the ball off my fingers? That's one of the things that we can do to compensate for the fact that we can't see pictures in our head when we try to picture it. And that's one trick that seems to work. But for the ones of you who are lucky enough to be able to see, video in your mind, oh yeah, absolutely take advantage of that. There's study after study that shows that sitting there and visualizing practice is almost as good as actually throwing balls. Your muscles actually twitch as though you were doing it for real. It's like you're teaching the muscles to do the right thing, but they just don't twitch at 100%. They twitch at like 70 or 80%, and sometimes you can feel it. You can feel it in your bicep that it's as though you threw a ball. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah, I mean, now you're talking about that, like I can visualize things. I do that a lot. Is I think a lot in my create all kinds of things in my head. But like when you said like visualize the shot, like even when I try to visualize it, it just kind of goes back to imagine like I kind of like see this like theoretical arc of like going over the arrow, like you said there on that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I can visualize pictures, but it just seems like it prefers to just imagine like the arrow where we're going.
Interesting. Yeah, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see like the path of the ball, but that's about it. I certainly don't see my own body.
I put a red line. I don't know why. It's just something I've always done all my life. It's a thin red line that you'd see in like MS Paint or something like that on a line. I don't know why it's red, but I draw I draw my eyes from the pins to my I don't move my head. I'm like, oh, do, but I move my eyes to where I want my ball to go back and forth, and that kind of paints that line.
Interesting. So anyone else? Any other tricks that you've tried that haven't quite worked, or tricks that you've learned that you especially liked? Or a little go-to mental trick that you use in times of trouble? Raven's trying to find one. I can see it.
It's like, when can I join the club tour? When can I join the club tour?
You're not already in? What
Are you already in? Is there I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, they've already taken money.
For club tour?
Yeah.
I'm in club tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry.
I thought I saw you on the list.
Way to live. Woo.
All right.
Some fun bowling. Good stuff.
So maybe a little bit of a step back question then. So, you folks have as long a bowling career ahead of you pretty much as you want at this point. The world is your oyster. What do you think you want out of this? Are you content to get through YBC and you're done? Do you want to move on to the cash tournament circuit? Do you want to play local tournaments? Do you want to be the big fish in the small pond who, is the big person at the bowling center? What do you want out of bowling from here? Anyone, jump right in.
Run a bowling alley.
I will say that after YBC, I will honestly be taking as many opportunities as I can to bowl in tournaments. I really like being involved in the sport, and obviously we have a bowling alley here, so I will be taking this place over eventually. So yeah, honestly, I'll try to stay as involved as I can with the sport.
what does that give you? Like, why? What's in it for you?
Honestly, I feel like the sport is such like a big like toll on my life that it's like I feel like it's more of like I need to stay in it. I don't know. I enjoy it so much, and especially like the past year has given me so many. I've had so many opportunities, and it's fantastic. I don't know. I am very much looking forward to after YBC.
All right. How about you folks? Go ahead, jump in.
For me, it'd be just I'm gonna move on, try and do the Open next year. I'm gonna be doing at least 2 days of club tours. I'm doing the doubles and the Bakers, and I'm already in for a shift. And hopefully, I don't need a second shift. And then from there, it'll be eventually I'll do masters, provided I have money and time after school and all that. I don't think I could ever leave it. I've been doing it my entire life. I've been bowling adult leagues since I was 12. Been doing adult tournaments for just as long, pretty much. I don't think it's a part of my life I could give up at this point.
Marty, how about you?
Just like Raven, like just involved in so many tournaments after I finished YBC. Keep working on the game, and yeah.
And why do you think you care? I know it's a tough question, but I mean, we've heard from Raven and Miles kind of the same thing that it's like for me, which is like I've been doing this for so long, I don't even know why I care. I just do, and I can't explain it.
I can't think of anything.
No?
I just like love the game so much. I love the community, and just such a nice community to be in. So I'd still do it.
There is definitely that. It does feel like a big extended family. And that's, especially important to people like me who don't have a lot of family, family of origin. Our chosen family just gets bigger and bigger, and and walking into every tournament feels like walking into a hug. It's fantastic.
There's just something fun about knocking 5 pins down.
That's weird too. It's a dumb game. This game makes no sense. Throw a rock at some sticks, and if you try to knock the sticks down, if you succeed, we're just going to put the sticks back up. If you fail, we're just going to put the sticks back up. Do it again. It makes no sense.
Love it.
Matthew, how about you?
I mean, since I've started this sport, everything I've gotten into is just because someone else is like, "Hey, you want to join this thing?" And I say, "Sure." So
you're a joiner. Okay.
That's likely that it'll keep going. Like, there's a cash league I'm in right now, and it's just a friend said, "Hey, I'm in this cash league. You want to come?" And I'm like, "All right."
So you're just suggestible. That's why you're here.
Pretty much, just go with the flow, and whoever brings something to me, I'll do it.
So then, what do you think? I mean, is there anything that you want out of bowling? Over the next 5-10 years, or are you just kind of happy to be here?
Just happy to be here, I guess. Like they said, I've been doing it so long. It's like I might as well keep doing it.
That's amazing. It's almost comforting in a way to hear you kids say, "I don't know why. I don't know why. I just do." Because I think that's going to keep you in this sport more than anything else. I mean, understanding why you care so much isn't going to make you care more or care less. The fact that you just see that you do, that's good enough for me. And I'll keep doing it until they tell me to stop or I can't do it anymore. As long as there's time and money available, I'm here. I think it's fantastic.
I think I know why. I think it's because we love it. We love it.
But that's not what the word "because" means. That doesn't explain anything. That's just saying the same thing again with different words.
We love to hate it and we hate to love it.
It's a love-hate.
Like, oh, I threw a 570. I'll see you next week. I feel like you're going to quit 1 week.
Imagine we all pay to keep doing it over and over and over again. Right?
Yep.
Except for Raven.
Well, thanks. This was awesome. We're at the hour here, so we'll wrap it up. Amazing. Yeah, no, thanks for joining us. We really had some great conversations. I mean, we're talking about the word kids and youth, but really folks in this room today are the future of the sport, and you're not just kids. We've got folks in college. We're working our brains out. You know, the graduation is there, and it'll be up to you guys to pass it down to the rest of the generations that come on, and it's super exciting. So again, thanks for being being here. Kathy.
Question. Are all of you signed up for November 5th? Because if you're not, I only have 18 spots left. I think Raven is.
Yeah, that's 2 yeses.
Okay. Reach out if you're not.
Do it now. Do it now.
Do it now. Get the head start.
Perfect. Kathy gets the last plug. Deserved. Wonderful. Okay. Thanks for being here, and
Thank you so much.
and enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks very much, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.